Oh dear, excuse me. Project 17, I think it is, in the Artist Trading Card Workshop book by Bernie Berlin. We're on to something called resin fresco. The effect I usually get from this technique reminds me of splattered paint, but with an added depth of texture. It's fun to layer the powder over different backgrounds and colours to achieve different results. It's also fun to rub your fingers over the finished card if you're the tactile type. You can also try this technique without the gesso for more of a wet look, but I like the way the gesso makes the colour pop. So you need an embossing ink pad or embossing liquid gel. It's going to go well today, I can tell already. Now, the thing I haven't got is the ultra thick embossing powder. It's also known as UT, ultra thick embossing enamel. And the difference with it is it's you've got embossing powder here, which is, this was an ultra fine one, and that's very powdery, whereas the other type is almost granular. Yeah, and it leaves it bumpy. I'll get it up close in a second. So you need a heat gun, some gesso if you're going to use it, acrylic paint and a brush. So let me see if I can show you on camera. Do you see this one here? You see the way it's kind of bobbly, you know, it's not all glassy and flat. So that is what you get with the ultra thick embossing enamel. It's a very granular look, very, I don't know really how else to explain it. You can also see it on this one here. They've just sort of put bits and pieces. All right, so that's kind of what we're kind of aiming for with our texture and that. So so how do we do it? Well, dab embossing ink onto the card in several random areas, and then sprinkle the embossing granules or powder over the ink where you've put it, basically. Melt the tap up. God, honestly, it's gonna be one of them days. Tap off the excess powder and then heat and melt it with a heat gun. Don't overheat it, or it would be less textured and more glass-like. I think the trouble with that is that if you've got an ultra fine one, or this is the other one I've got, which is a clear one, it's not lumpy, so it might go glassy, but I'm going to show you something that I'm going to try. You might want to as well, who knows. Yeah, so you let it cool and then you brush gesso over where you've done the embossing. So as I say, I'm kind of a bit baffled by this one, but I'm just gonna follow the thing, and then we'll see where we go. So when the gesso is dried, dry brush and acrylic paint over the card. Feel free to use more than one colour. So the bit I'm struggling with is, well, I guess the gesso does sort of show through there. Right, so if you can just see in the corner of this one, can you just see there, and some bits in the middle, it looks like where she's done her embossing. It's not very clear. You can just about see it here as well. So when she's put the gesso on over the embossed card, so do we do it in the gaps? I don't know. Should we just play? We'll just do our own thing. This one here is particularly, you can see here all the embossing stuff is here, and then she's inlaid something, or this person has inlaid something there. So it's not actually on, I can't see it on the rest of the card. It's just concentrated in that corner. So yeah, anyway, let's give it a go. Right, so I got cards there. They are. I've because I never marked any of my ones that I decanted, and I didn't know what this one was. I did a trial run to see what they are. So they're both clear. One's got sparkle bits in, and the other one, you know, is obviously, it's a very, very fine one. It's very, very flat. I guess I'm just thinking, actually, oh, I've just had a thought. If you want to get a textured background, you could emboss your card first with an embossing folder, you know, like in a Sizzix machine. You could do that. The other workaround that I've thought of, I've got some really tiny glass beads and I'm going to chuck them in. We'll give it a go. Just make sure they're glass though. Okay, so these are iridescent. I'm pretty sure they're glass. If you start seeing flames, you'll know they're not. Anyway, right, it doesn't say to do any colour on the background, so I've just got some white mixed media card here. I really don't know what I'm supposed to do. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my dabber. If you've only got the let's do one with the pad. So it's my beautifully clean Versamark pad. So just kind of do what you want, really. Right, okay. I'll do some in the corner, and then some there. That's how nice and clean it is. Look, it's leaving ink everywhere. And some there, and some there. Let's see where we go with that. So I might use this one because it was a little bit thicker. I'll try all three, don't worry. You might have to do this more than once to get a little bit of texture going, which I probably will do. So I might speed you up because you're not going to see a lot because it is clear embossing powder. So back in a bit. Right, so you can see my shiny bits there, so that's the embossing. What I'm going to do is do that again, and I'm going to chuck in some beads this time, so just need to let that cool for a second. So if I do that, and I might put some of that glittery stuff in there actually. It's kind of like orange peel. That's the only way I can describe it. Whereas with the you know, with the thicker stuff, you do get, I don't want to do that on there, sorry. Yeah, with the thicker stuff you will get that orange peel really well. I prefer this. I'm not very keen on the pads, but, and this is just a liquid form of what they are basically. So this is the bit where I might set my house on fire. Okay, so I'm pretty sure they're glass beads, but I could be wrong. We will find out. Oh, nice bit of detritus in there. Right, okay, so let's knock that off. Like I say, you might need to do a couple of coats anyway. Always put your lid on because I'm Calamity Jane with that stuff. Right, so what I think I'll do is, I'm hoping they won't blow around actually. It's not a very blowy heat gun actually. Like I say, if you haven't got beads, it might be worth you just trying to texture your card, your base card, because that would give you a similar effect. I think this one, kind of what I'm getting is, it's all about texture, and because that is what the embossing enamel would have done. The other two I'm just going to do plain. Okay, this one I'm just trying this just to see if these will work. Where's the powder? There it is. I wonder if that's going to stick. Can I get a little bit on top of them? It might stick anyway, but I'm going to faff for this first one and then I'll speed you up for the other two. bear with me, basically. Oh, nice cat here. She gets everywhere, that blooming cat. This is all going to blow away. I've just thought of that. Right, let's have a go. Oh, you ready? Let me get it hot. Right, it's going to blow away. You ready, ready, ready? Okay, the embossing enamel is bubbling. So that's a good thing, I think. Never seen it do that before. I don't know how many of these beads are actually going to stick, but I don't know if you can see that. He's actually bubbling. I have never seen embossing powder do that before. That's a little bit scary. Well, the beads are on, so they're sticking. Right, I'm going to let that thoroughly dry and cool, basically. Right, I'm going to crack on, do the other two. I'll put you on fast forward. Hopefully you can see what I'm up to. I think you're fairly low, so yeah, let's carry on. Right, okay, as you probably saw there, while it was still molten, I was chucking on more embossing powder, which actually was giving it quite a nice kind of the orange peely effect. So I'm just going to pause you for a minute. I'm just going to, I've got powder everywhere, so I'm just going to wipe the side, and yeah, I'll come back to you in a second. Right, I've cleaned up and everything's cooled down a bit, which is all good. Right, so what was the next bit? Tap off, right, don't overheat. Yeah, okay, let it cool, then brush gesso over the embossed card. Again, I can't work out if she's gessoing over the embossing powder is. Okay, right, okay. Well, we'll just slap some on, basically. I've got a scrap piece of paper back here. I'm just going to put a daub of gesso on there. I've got my cheapy IKEA kids brush, which is great for dry brushing. I'm going to go over the embossed bits. don't know if we're supposed to do the whole card. we'll just do everything on that one. I bet you're not seeing anything because it's all white on white. Never mind. You'll see hopefully in the end. Right, so that's fairly well dry brush there. Okay. And then it says to put some acrylic paint on it. So, yeah, let's give those a minute to dry. Has it got a bit acrylic? Could you... I've pulled out some inks. I don't know whether to try those. And then what was it? Just slap on some paint, basically. Right, let's get a normal paintbrush. It's all a bit unknown, this one. I've not done this technique before, so yeah, you're learning with me, basically. Or I'm learning with you, I should say. Right, the gesso's dry. That is the one godsend about gesso. Again, I'm not quite sure what we're aiming for here, but let's just spread this about. Oh, I can see what she means about it. Makes it pop a bit. So just cover, I don't know if you're seeing that. Can you see it's slightly lighter under where I gessoed on top of the embossing? You see the colour difference? I'll check in a minute. I'll see what you're seeing. I just get this spread out. I'll just put a little bit of water on my brush just to spread this about a bit. It is actually leaving a really nice texture. I'm going to leave some white bits. So let me stand up and I can see what you're seeing. Yeah. Can you see there? It's just slightly different coloured. So try the gesso or do it without, it's up to you. But I'm going to leave that because she did say it's like a fresco background, which that kind of is, isn't it? So, right, we'll let that one dry. Yeah, see there? Particular. Really, really pale there. Cool. Okay. Oh, I'm glad I tried the acrylic ink. That worked a treat. I pulled out a green one as well. I'm going to do it again. Let's do this one with there. I've got this amazing, mind you, it's so old I don't even know if it works anymore. Ooh, it's pearlescent, this one. I think I went a bit mad with the gesso on this one, so, and the colour. Flipping heck, hold on. This might have been a bad choice. Don't think it's going to show with this one. Yeah, that was slightly too opaque. Oh yeah, you can still see where it's embossed though, which is half the battle. See, I make these mistakes so that you don't. Okay. That in itself is quite interesting, just pulling that off of there. Really watered down one. Okay, it's not as evident on that one. Let's be really ambitious. Okay, don't use a pearlescent ink. It must be an awful lot thicker than the orange. Let's see if we can wipe a bit of that off. That's a little bit over the top, that one. Just need to trust the process. Susie, come on. It is kind of working. It's definitely working down the side there. Okay, well, it's giving me the interesting background that I was after, so that's something. See, down, especially down the side there, you can just see the embossing. Let's actually take that back. Maybe I went a bit too heavy with the embossing there because it was stripes and spots, so that was a bit too much embossing powder. You just need little bits, pieces and parts like that one did. I just did the splodge and just sort of 5 of them, and then you get the difference between the background and the embossing. That's worked really well, that one. Okay, that one, eh. Right, we'll leave them to dry. Okay, let's just use ordinary paint on this one. Of course, I haven't got one out. I'm going to go with a transparent alizarin crimson. I don't know, it'll do. And I'm going to use that brush this time. I'm going to try not to put so much on. Definitely needs a tad of water with it, as far as I can see. Yeah, definitely don't do too much of the embossing powder. So I think that's where these have gone wrong. Because you really want it to pick up the card and the embossing. That might dry differently actually. So it was just plain card in the middle there. So we'll see how that one dries. It could be quite interesting actually. I like the way it's pooling around the beads. Interesting. And the beads worked. That's an interesting texture actually. Well done, Susan. Far too much paint out here. Never mind. Let's just play a bit more. Right, okay. I'm going to pause you because this has all got to dry. Back in a tick. Okay, we are all dry. I am very impressed with the way it pulled around the beads on that one. And they're pretty solidly in there as well. They're not going to come out. Even though I did get stuff all over the place. This one, not so good. The green wasn't a good idea, but the orange definitely worked. So yeah, I would suggest you just do little pieces and parts of embossing, not all over. That was a bit too heavy, that one, because this one worked an absolute treat. So for me, for the actual technique, this is the successful one, because you do, like she said with the gesso, you do get a different colour in the background coming through. So, and it is quite orange peely. But yeah, anyway, right, I'm just going to decorate these and then yeah, we'll call it a video. So I have pulled out some bits. I don't know if you can just see them at the back there. They're all bits and pieces out of my gel print die cut box thing that I keep here. Yeah, let's do some decorating. So I've got this one here. I'm just going to put a number 6 on there just because, no other reason. I kind of liked it. So yeah, I think if I was really into embossing, I'll tell you what annoys me about embossing. It's sticky. It's a sensory thing, I guess. Yeah, I find it really sticky and unpleasant. I don't like the feel of it, and I think that's why I don't do a lot, basically. So yeah, maybe I'll get over it by doing all these things that she's going to get us doing. Yeah, it's definitely I definitely don't like the feel. Funny, isn't it? I mean, funny. Or maybe it's just me. I'm blooming peculiar most of the time. So have a go. See what you can do. If you haven't got the stuff, don't worry about it. One of the lovely ladies on Discord, she didn't have the embossing powder last week, so she used foil, which worked a treat. If you've got the foil, you know, you just put glue down and it transfers sort of thing. Yeah, just use what you've got. Don't be too worried. I feel that's very bland in the background there. This is my stencil off of my dehumidifier thingamajig. I saw that shape and I thought, oh, I really like that. You're not going to show. Okay, let's go black. So I cut it off before I put the put it in the bin, like you do. So where there's card, I can actually get the ink to settle there. I'll do the inking around the edges in a bit. So this one, I got a little mushroom that I die cut out of my gel print. I've got one of the Tim Holtz leaves, and then I've got a very simple fern, that's the word. So we just make a little montage here. You don't have to put anything on them, you can just leave them plain, because it is all about the techniques. It's not necessarily about, you know, the decorating. So if you haven't got bits and bobs, don't worry about it, okay? Just have a go at the techniques. I don't know what else you could use instead of embossing powder. It kind of is a thing. Oh, are you a sticker? Oh, you are. Come on. Yeah, it's... Oh, that was jammy. Sorry, I can't talk and stick things at the same time by the looks of it. What was I saying? Yeah, just use what you got. Don't go out and buy tons of stuff, because you just really don't need to. So just play, have a go. Let's see what you can do. Ooh, stick a number 2 on there, shall we? Let's cut some more of these actually. Don't know why, but I feel it needs a number 2. Oh, that sounded a bit wrong. Oops. Let's do some more of those in there, like that way. Again, you don't have to do this bit. Oh, don't move. Right, that's number 2. And for this one, I've just got a big die cut flower, which can just hopefully sit in amongst those beads. Do you need inking? No. If you haven't got beads, try putting a bit of sand. If you've got some sand, or what else can you get that's lumpy bumpy? Oh, which way did you go there? I can't work out. Right there, stay. Yeah, anything with a bit of texture that doesn't melt, basically, because obviously you're going to have to heat it to get it to stick to the embossing powder. And again, if you haven't got embossing powder, just do something else. Doesn't have to be what I use. You do you. Very, very strong believer in that phrase from Mr. Holtz. You do you. You fit in there just. Yeah, the gesso on top of the embossing powder did work. I was questioning that because I was like, what difference is that going to make? But it does, slightly. So, this is obviously today's stencil. Yeah, I went too heavy with the embossing powder on there. I shall ink the edges and do all that stuff off screen. So, there we are. Like I say, for me, the most successful is that one up the top there for definite. But yeah, it wasn't very clear. Sure, to me it wasn't. I mean, you can, if you've got the book, you read it and see if it was clearer for you, which part you're supposed to put the gesso on. But there we are, that'll do. Right, have a go. See how you get on. And I'll see you next week. Bye.